what's happening with games through game study scholars or software developers at universities. And there's been a little bit of a chasm between what's happening in the university space and what's happening on the ground in industry or with real players or in esports or these other domains. Now, there is a conference that kind of serves this purpose of bringing these groups together, and we wanted to have one that was North America based. So we're very proud last year with Transformer 2025, under the leadership of Kennesaw State and GGDA to throw this off. And here this year, we're back bigger and better than ever. And I want to highlight some of the things that we do at this conference and some of the things that you have to look forward to and kind of give us some direction on that. So one of the things that you'll hear about today in a broad swath of topics in these plenary sessions are what's happening with AI, how it's affecting the development in the game space, and how these two kind of forces are affecting each other across domains. And as we move into tomorrow, we are going to be seeing a lot of content that's much more go hands-on, workshop style content, getting more into the weeds, giving you an opportunity to actually experiment with some of these things yourself. Now, we didn't do this alone. This just didn't come like poof, like magic. We had a lot of people contribute to make this weekend possible. And I just want to go through some of those contributions. We had major contributions from all of the university players in the state of Georgia. Kennesaw State happens to be the host of this through the Center for Interactive Media under Victoria LaGrange. But we're really trying to bring everyone in Georgia into this same umbrella. And we are very proud to be partnering with folks from Georgia Tech and from Georgia State, from Gwinnett Tech, from Gwinnett Community College System. We're very proud to be working with CMII on this event as well, and having partners coming from far-flung areas like Ohio University and New York University. And we are also taking this opportunity to recognize our founding sponsor for the event, which is AWS. Amazon Web Services not only is going to be supplying lunch today, hence everyone kind of getting excited about chicken and salad, but they are also providing us with things like credits so that people can go hands-on with some of these new code agents in the workshop tomorrow. And they'll also be providing all of the infrastructure for everything from the website to the ticketing system to everything we interact with you today. And we're proud to work with them for this event. Now, I want to just take a beat and get everyone in the right mind space for where we're going and what we're about to talk about. And for this, I know I don't have a bunch of slides. I'd like you to kind of join me on this little mental exercise, right? Many people come up to me and they say, I don't understand why we're mashing up AI in games. I know AI is hot. I know games are hot. Why are we mashing these up? What's that unique value? What's the unique crossover? Are we using AI to build games? Are we using games to make AI? What's happening here? Well, I just want to highlight for everyone in the room, if you haven't given much thought to this crossover space, it's kind of all of the above, and it's because these two domains were cut from the same fabric. And that fabric is that they are both techno-social systems. And by techno-social system, I mean these are not simple tools or simple platforms that exist in a vacuum. These systems have a feedback loop on society and the way we talk and the way our culture exists and the way we communicate. And that very feedback loop, much like a game loop, allows us to feed back into the system, changing the system itself. So we already have great familiarity with things like academic publishing or game publishing. These are other examples of technosocial systems. And when we think about technosocial systems, we think like, okay, so what do these things run on? What is it that AI and games run on? And many people in this room probably think, oh, AI and games, they run on compute, right? They run on GPUs. They need a lot of memory, stuff like that. Well, that's not what I'm talking about here. Actually, I think that when we think really deeply about technosocial systems, they have a currency that is wholly unique. A technosocial system really runs, and this is counterintuitive, it runs on nostalgia. Okay? And the reason I say it runs on nostalgia is because we all have a deep longing for prior configurations of that technosocial system. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if you were an early adopter of Facebook, another example of such a system, you probably long for the days when the algorithm had a different pattern and society worked a different way. And if you're a user of some of these LLM services, you probably have a strong preference already for what it was like last year or 2 years ago versus now. These longings for prior configurations are the way that we signal that things are changing. And the reason we as humans need to already give that signal that things are changing is because it's moving so rapidly. It's moving very rapidly without us, and humans naturally resist that form of velocity. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for the people in the room? Well, if we can just embrace for a moment that there's something nostalgic about these technosocial systems, and that by embracing nostalgia, we gain leverage with these systems, then we unlock a new understanding of what is possible and how to make it work. And I'll give you an example of this. If you are working in the AI space, or you're working in the game space, you've probably noticed that there's been a strong tendency towards demakes, retro gaming, things that make us long for a prior past. I don't think anyone in this room predicted that people would be using the terminal this much in 2026. Yet everyone's obsessed with terminal interfaces now. What's happening there? Well, when we have so much speed and so much acceleration, we have a need for comfort as humans, and we long for things that are familiar. So in a weird way, nostalgia has a way of lubricating adoption. And pretty much everyone in this room has something that they're building that they want users to adopt or engage with. So I would just call out to you, if you want to hasten that adoption and you really want to lean into the system, then evoking the feelings of nostalgia is a great way to do that. But nostalgia is also unique because nostalgia is not an accurate recollection of the past. When I say nostalgia, I don't mean history, right? In fact, it's quite different from history. The way I think about my elementary school is very different, discordant totally, with when I go visit my elementary school, right? And when we have nostalgia for something, we kind of like wax about all of the positive qualities of something. And in a way, when we engage with games, and when we engage especially with generative AI, those products evoke a nostalgia, right? When I talk to one of these chatbots, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this is giving Shakespeare. This is giving Faulkner. This is really great prose, right? Or when I use one of these tools to create an art product, I think the same way. I'm thinking, oh, this reminds me of this game I liked, or this game I enjoyed. So when we kind of approach all of the talks today, I encourage us to think not of these as tools. I don't want us to think about the game developers have subordinated AI to do their bidding, right? And that AI is simply a tool that we instrumentally operate to get at our goals. But that both of these have a feedback loop with society, and part of the friction we feel as developers and deep thinkers about this topic is because it's all happening seismically like a tsunami underneath us, beneath us, and around us at all times. So if you shared with anyone that you were coming to Transformer for AI and games, you might have had people in your midst say, oh gosh, watch out for this, right? People used to say the same thing about Photoshop. They used to say the same thing about Wikipedia, right? That is a certain nostalgia for the past, and that's a nostalgia reaction to what's happening now as things start to change quickly. So I want to welcome everyone here to what I think is going to be a phenomenal weekend of conversations. And I want to highlight one important tidbit for you all. In addition to the talk we're about to have from Eleanor today, we're also going to hear from Layla Janae at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. So we'll check in with you throughout the day, but go ahead and make a plan to be here a little bit earlier tomorrow, because we started at 10 today. We'll start a little bit earlier tomorrow. All right, now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and this is Eleanor. Eleanor, please take it away.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Here we go. Is this audio okay? Okay. Thank you. Oh, no, thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. It's really wonderful to be here with you all this morning. I had the privilege of presenting our preliminary results last year, and I'm really happy to be here again this year. Hello, I'm Eleanor Bavel-Mather. I worked with the Tandem Lab at Georgia Tech as an undergraduate researcher, and we worked on investigating how on the responsible generative AI and game development work. I worked under Dr. Neha Kumar, who was my PI, Dr. Vishal Sharma, who is now at the University of Notre Dame, and Dr. Pejman Mirza Babe at the Ontario Institute of Technology, who gave us some very good insights. All right. Thank you again for this opportunity. I suppose going into a little bit about my personal motivations for conducting this research, I found I worked with a lot of game developers in the Atlanta area through my time at school and outside of school, and there is, as you guys already know, there's quite a bit of hype and quite a bit of concern around generative AI tools and their potential for changing how game development works and how it might impact people's jobs. And I wanted to get an idea of what was actually useful, what might be a problem, and how can we support game developers in a practical way. All right, so to get into the questions that our research was conducted to answer, the questions were, how do workers involved in the game development ecosystem perceive increasing integration of generative AI in their workflows? And how might their creative capabilities be responsibly supported and augmented via generative AI? Now that's a huge mouthful, but basically it's just how are people reacting to generative AI tools, and how can we, basically what I said before, how can we help people using these tools? All right, so the way that we conducted this research is that we used a screening Qualtrics survey to collect participants for in-depth interviews, from which we got quite a bit of qualitative data to ask them about their experiences with generative AI, if they used these tools, how useful were these tools, in what ways were different tools useful, if they didn't use tools, how might they have been impacted by these tools' popularity. And like with a lot of qualitative research, we wanted to prioritize the depth of the data. So ultimately, we ended up with 16 participants in all, and we got their, we anonymized the transcripts of the interviews. The whole team grouped the data into different themes. So most of our participants were from the US area, and most of them were independent developers. When I talk about our findings, I will clarify when certain themes or codes were more relevant to independent developers or those in larger company environments. Of course, at the time of our research, we started this project 2 years ago. There was already a lot of work on in this field, generative AI and workplaces, and particularly in game development. Panchana Dikar and Freeman did a very similar, actually, study to us, but they analyzed social media posts from game developers to get a feel for how they were